rising star, not knowing where I was going, how near or how far. Through years of light, lands of future and past, until the heavenly gates were sighted at last. As old stars would die, so the new ones were born.
Walk Factor 8.
Their mission to boldly go where no man has gone before. But outer space has other plans. And now, their mission has changed.
There's just one thing I want.
Revenge, Captain?
Why not?
Introducing the 9th film by Quentin Tarantino.
What were your orders, Kirk? To start a war? You've succeeded.
They meant to bring peace to the galaxy.
This will be your final battlefield.
They brought their pieces instead. It's a galaxy of green blood, green women, and Nazis.
Tell me your orders. You were sent here to kill our Führer. Confess. What in blazes is this?
Captain Kirk, the captain's log isn't the only wood he's packing.
Captain.
Mr. Spock, half Vulcan, half human, full killing machine. Bones, this doctor is the real McCoy. Uhura, sending out vibes on all frequencies. Sulu, deadly at the helm, even deadlier with a blade. Chekhov, one badass mother Russian. And Scotty, he'll give you all he's got.
I didn't say the Enterprise should be hauling garbage.
It should be hauled away as garbage.
Set your phasers to thrill.
Keep your f***ing hands off me.
In this final frontier, their prime directive is to kill. Quentin Tarantino's Star Trek. Voyage to Vengeance.
You're out of your f***ing mind, Spock.
Coming soon to a drive-in near you.
Meet the real man. Hindsight is always 20/20, but looking back, it's still a bit fuzzy. Speak of mutually assured destruction. Nice story.
The question is not when we gonna stop, but who we gonna stop it.
CPR street gang, most is all fighting. Standing by, over. CPR street gang, most is all fighting. Standing by, over.
Right now, it's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines,
Clock's run out. Time's up.
Wind is blowing cold and dark. On the road and no way out. Broken hearts, the smoking gun. On the run. On the run. You're Jimmy, right? This is your house?
Sure is.
Wherever you are, make it
Into this world we're thrown, like a dog without a bone, an actor out alone, riders on the storm. There's a killer on the road, his brain is squirming like a toad. Take a long holiday, let your children play. If you give this man a ride, sweet family will die. Killer on the road, yeah. Riders on the storm. It's a killer on the road, yeah. Girl, you gotta love your man. Girl, you gotta love your man. Make him understand. The world on you depends. Our life will never end. Gotta love your
My name's Jimmy. It's Friday night. Ow. What's up, buddy? Oh, yeah. It's Friday night, boy. Ahoo. Epic. Are you there? Come in. Epic. Overdriving audio. Epic.
Except on my end because I wasn't talking yet.
Hello.
Yeah, it sounds good. Sounds good. Yeah, YouTube sounds good. We got some guys in there. Say hello to everybody.
Hey, everybody.
Got nice A and
Hey, what's
Jason
up?
Mole and
Hey,
some other guys
Nate.
cruising in.
Yeah, hang on a second. Nase hit me up earlier on Skype, and it was funny because I was just thinking about him the other day. And so I was glad you got a hold of me, Nase. And yeah, we definitely we're over on Revolution Radio. We're going to be on there tonight. So we're getting ready to go on. It's a dead man's party tonight, and we're going to be talking about people that are dead. So we got quite a list. Most of the greatest people are dead, so we got quite a list of people we can run through and stuff we could talk about tonight over there on Revolution Radio, which is going to happen in about 22 minutes or so. So, Epic, how you doing, brother? I know you've been busting your hiney to the bone.
Yeah, lots of work to do. I worked late today, but I made it. Couldn't miss the show, so I made it in. Yeah, Rico A says volume's a little low on YouTube, so we're kind of the inverse. It's a little, over
here,
on Skype and a little under on YouTube. So it's good to get this out of the way first.
Here, I just bumped up the volume over there. Ask them how that is over there now. That should be good.
How's that, Rico? Any overdriving?
Yeah, let them know. Just tell them let me know.
All right, here we go.
Yeah, I just bumped it up, so I bumped up the output. Yeah, boy. Yeah, so we have 1 million. We're going to get into some Death Race 2000 just for a minute, though, at the beginning of the show. And then we got this whole Dead Man's Party piece that we put together. And we're going to be running that bad boy. It's about, I don't know, it's a few minutes long. But, and that'll kind of lead us into the show. And then we'll just start, we're going to be talking about a bunch of cool people, different people that are dead. You know, who knows? Richard Pryor, I don't know. Definitely young Frankenstein is going to be involved for sure, just because it's a Halloween show tonight. You know, it's Dia de los Muertos coming up here, man. And it's also going to be Halloween. And it must be cool to Halloween over in the islands, man. It must be a cool thing. Do you guys float those bags? Where they you float those bags up in the air with the candles?
No, we don't do that because we don't catch anything on fire. Enough fires. But the Halloween in Lahaina is like world famous now. It's almost like Mardi Gras in New Orleans, you know.
Seriously.
Yeah, really. It's like a big event. It has been since the 80s. It's huge. They shut down Front Street and everybody gets out there. And you never know who you're going to bump into out there because half the people are already there. But you're going to be wearing a mask, right? We're going to show them masks one day. It's coming up.
I know. It's coming. Masks. Yeah. The masks. We all wear them. We just take one down from the ancient gallery and walk on down the hall. You know, the worst thing that could possibly happen before a show is that I lose my lighter. And that thing has now happened. So the first thing I got to do, Epic, is find that lighter. So in the meantime, why don't you tell everybody what's been going on over there in the islands? Because I know hasn't there been some fires and stuff over there too?
Yeah, there's some fires, Maui. There's always fires, you know, not like it is in California. You got big fires in California. We had a big one last year in Lahaina, almost burnt Lahaina down, got right to the road, basically. And they caught it in time. It was ironic because, well, I use ironic too many times, that word. But there was kind of an irony here because what happened was they had set up for the hurricane. Now, it's the second hurricane we had last year. And they've shut down all the businesses and had all the cops out there and had all the firefighters out there guarding the roads and kind of evacuation route tending and that kind of thing. And the hurricane missed us. But in the midst of all these people, all these civil servants being deployed to make sure people had a good, you know, way to get out, the fire hit like at 3 a.m, 2 a.m, something like that. So all the guys were already there. And if they weren't there, it would have been a much, much bigger ordeal than it was. But luckily everybody was there. So yeah, we don't get the same kind of stuff that California does generally, but that was a scary one. In the place I work, it came right up to it. I go back and forth between islands, and I was there, and you know, for the hurricane, and then the fire came, and I was like, scavenging stuff at the store, you know, just like you see the guys raiding the store for all the water and stuff. I was getting stuff for trying to fend off the fire. The smoke and everything got really heavy, but we made it through. It was good. So Jimmy's probably a little closer to fires than I am here. I'm on the other island right now, on the Big Island. And no fires this year so far. We had a big one last year, but so far not too bad.
Well, all I got to do is I am on the I'm on Third World Patrol here in California, and tomorrow PG&E's already, PG&E's already warned us today that our power's going off tomorrow at 4 o'clock, and it's going to be off for 2 days. So it's like we're living in a third world country, man. We got brownouts going on. Fires are burning every place out of control. And but we're paying first world prices, you know, I mean, per square foot. It's like, it's an unbelievable amount of money here to live. And I mean, you know, there's plenty of $20 an hour jobs. Problem is, you can't live here for $20 an hour. You got to be making at least 50 or 60 to live here. And that's no joke.
Yeah, no doubt. You know, Ken just showed up in the chat. Welcome aboard.
Hey, Kenny. It's evil.
So yeah, he's out there in the Australian outback, right? And I'm telling you, we're all going to have to head out there soon. Because what's the point of working, you know, at least 40 hours, if not 80 hours a week, to live in a, you know, a little pod somewhere in a bunk bed? Because that's what it's turning into in the Bay Area. They got those. What Hong Kong's got them. I mean. It's insane. They're putting people in those things, and people are paying top dollar to be there.
Well, here's the thing, you know. Yeah. Here's the thing. You can make it nice for people. could make some money. All you got to do, look, you could just get storage containers, old storage containers, and make them go up and down instead of laying on the ground like they normally are. Put them on end, fill it up with some tubes and make it a chain, like a bicycle chain. And people could just come down when their tube comes down to the bottom, and you can just get in it and just goes back in there like a zipper, like a zipper.
Bank deposit thing, right?
Lock your ass in there at night. Did you see those Chinese people that just froze to death? They got locked into they're trying to hide in a refrigerated truck, and they froze to death. Like that. You see the movie Goodfellas. When they find what's his nuts hanging in the back of that meat truck, and he's frozen. He's got
right.
He's got frost hanging all over his face. Mo Green or whatever his name was. Johnny 2 times. He says everything.
Got those great names, right?
Yeah, he says everything 2 times. Hey, so we're not going to say anything 2 times tonight. So you guys over in the chat, what are some dead guys you want to talk about tonight? I mean, Tesla's a dead guy, I mean, Jesus is a dead guy, right? Or is he?
There's an interesting statistic we'll bring it up in the main show probably. I think the number of people alive on the earth today, right? Now, depending on who you talk to, are equal or greater to the number of people who've ever lived. So kind of interesting stat, right?
I always find the soul stat weird. Like, how can there be that many souls for as many people as there is? You know what I mean? Like,
I do.
There's only so many souls. It's like
I think there's something maybe to that. Like we reach a critical mass. and then so now everybody who's ever lived is alive right now. And the people who were born later, they're going to be, or the people who linger along these transhumanist kind of cyborg bodies, right? This day, then what's going to happen? You're going to be having people born that are what? There's no soul. There's empty vessels, right?
Maybe that's what it's all. Maybe that is the transition. You're right. Maybe that's the transition. It's only because they're soulless. They're just soulless, man. Because there's not enough souls to go around. It's like musical chairs. That's why they go, hey, man, Bob's an old soul, isn't he? Bob's an old soul. Why is he an old soul, man? I mean, why does, you know what I mean? Even in the reincarnational aspect, right? But all these new
obviously
people,
there has to be new souls made, back in the day. I mean, there's Adam and Eve supposedly, and then everybody followed, right? So obviously there's new souls that came in. But yeah, what happens now when you start?
We need to keep heaven packed with fresh souls.
Right. Yeah, if wish you had Soul Man, queued up. I'm a soul man.
For real.
Dun 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 dun. Right.
No, seriously though, where are these extra souls coming from? I mean, is there some factory? I mean, where do they come from? Does all these people being born, where are these souls? I mean, think of how many people are being born every single second of every single day. Think of how many how many people are not being born every single second of every day. And still, where do these souls come from? Doesn't even out.
Well, those are there's some heady thoughts, right? And I think more people need to think about it, actually, because if you start having souls not migrate on naturally because you have artificial life extension through this transmission of consciousness, which I don't buy. I think once you do that, you're not really a soul anymore. You're just trapped, right? You're trapped. You're cutting off an exit, personal opinion, where you should be able to be reborn, right? You're just in this cage now where you're never going to grow. Basically, you're just stuck in the life you had, right?
Stuck in your PVC your pipe cubicle with your hey man, it's cool though. It's got a Starbucks coffee machine in it. You just push the button and it's just like espresso, only there's no elbow grease. Let me tell you something, man. There is no comparison between if you went to an Italian cafe and order yourself a double shot of espresso. That dude would put his back into that shit, packing it in there. And when you got that crema, it'd be like 3 inches thick on there. It'd be almost like, that's why they call it crema. Because it's like cream. See? But the shit that comes out of those button push Starbucks is like, why do you even need a person? at that point? Can't you just put that little packet in there and just boop?
That's a good use for robots, it seems to me. I mean, why do you need your person there, honestly, in a situation like that? Because it's not the same.
Well, the thing is,
like you're bringing up.
Yeah,
I was in Italy.
Yeah, go ahead. You're in Italy.
Yeah. So my first time in Italy was in 1983, I want to say, maybe 84, and I went there on the boat. So we called the sub back then, the boat, right? And I took leave. So they were going to go on and go up to Norway or something, and I took leave and just hung out for 14 days in Italy, and then took a train across country and all this stuff. Went through Denmark and went up there. But when I was in Italy, there's all kinds of stories about that. But the reason I bring it up is because. They put. I didn't know any better. I stayed in this little seedy hotel. So it turned out that it'd be like
I'm gonna try to come over.
Kind of. Yeah, it was this place. It was across the street from like this place called the Teatro dei Sexy. Right, I should give you an idea of what kind of neighborhood it was in Rome at the time. But I didn't know any better. All the streets smelled like urine to me back in 1983. So I go there, but in the morning they have the continental breakfast, right? And they give you the bear claw kind of, but it's better than bear claw kind of pastry, and they give you one thing of cream, like a regular, the silver cistern, whatever you call it, thing of cream, and about the same size thing of this cappuccino, and some sugar, right? It's like raw sugar. But the thing is, that was so good. That was like the best coffee ever. Like you're talking, they really put their back into it. It was really
That's
like just dark, syrupy,
man.
gnarly stuff. It was more like syrup than coffee, right? And he mixed it. It was like equal portions out the cream. Oh, it was so good, man.
That's what I'm saying.
Really
exactly. I mean, this is exactly what I'm talking about because, listen, it's the same thing. When the dudes behind Starbucks counters used to put their backs in it, that's what made it worth $5 a thing of coffee, right? But now,
coffee, right? And he mixed it like equal portions.
Now they don't put their back into it anymore, but you're still paying $5. It's the same thing in California. You paid a high price to live here because there's a high cost of living because you relied on the services. You know what I'm saying? Now you don't have services, but you're still paying the high price per square foot. So which is it? They want us to pay all this money for what? I mean, I understand it's nice. I'm not saying it isn't nice, but it's only nice to a certain point. Like, when's it not nice? When your food goes bad in your refrigerator? It stops being nice right then, huh? Why don't we just go to this? Here, let's just go to like a Death Race 2000 scenario.
Changing the channel.
Here we go. Let's check out some little bit of Death Race 2000. I had a sound check.
It seems apparent that our citizens are staying off the streets, which may make scoring particularly difficult, even with this year's rule changes. To recap those revisions, women are still worth 10 points more than men in all age brackets, but teenagers now rack up 40 points, and toddlers under 12 now rate a big 70 points. The big score, anyone, any sex, over 75 years old, has been upped to 100 points. As always, how fast you move determines how long you live.
So we're 3 minutes out, and we got to get set for the show. So I got to call in about 2 minutes here and get set. Looks like we're on about I don't even know how many seconds delays we're on the chat room over there on YouTube. But I definitely can't have this open for some reason when I open up the chat room over there. Epic.
Sounded like about 8 seconds, 6 to 8 seconds, because my audio went out.
Yeah, so anyway, so we're going to get ready to go here. So there's going to be some silence. I mean, I'm halfway on the fence on whether I should just kill the stream because there's like 5 minutes of silence before the actual show starts. There's all kinds of break music and all this stuff. So
the guitar riffs and stuff, yeah.
So no, they got the servers back online. The servers.
They do?
Yeah. The servers have been offline, so they got them back. But now I got issues. Hang on a second. Why did that happen? Wild clicking going on here.
Dolphins invasion. Day of the Dolphin.
The chippering dolphins. All right, hold on.
Has landed.
Okay, the mothership has landed. Now, where's Kirk? All right, here we go, you guys. I'm gonna mute up. Go ahead and mute up, Epic. I'm gonna call the number here in a minute. But I gotta go fetch that Star Trek. Hang on. Let me see. It's just too much. I can't see it. It's like it's not there. Oh, here it is, and recently closed, I bet. Hello, YouTube. You're behind the scenes with the backstage pass, so that means you get to hear me talking to myself. Before we go on the air. What the I just can't believe it's not here. How could it be? It's literally impossible. Well, it must mean that I shouldn't use that one tonight. Oh. Maybe this is it. It doesn't say anything. It just says YouTube. What you want to bet that's it? Let's hope. I gotta call this number. Hang on. Yeah, I don't know what the hell that is. Absolutely no idea. What is this? I have no idea what that is. Alright, fuck it. I'm out of here. We're winging it. Here we go. Gotta add that studio on there. Studio A. Revolution Radio. Alright, here we go, everybody. Be ready. 3 minutes of silence. Alright, cool. We're good. I got it. Alright, YouTube. Sweet. We're rolling. Yeah, there's nothing wrong. That's what happens. It just fades out because it's not, the signal's not strong enough. Let me see. I just want to come back over here. I don't even know what this is now anymore over here. I'm just going to get rid of it. There we go. Whoop. I don't want to be there. How about right here? Sound good? All right. All right, so now we got about 3 minutes. So there's going to be some intro. Of course, I'm going to play something I already played for you guys, so don't sweat it, though. It's all new to them. I got to go over to that chat room now. You guys can go over to that chat room at freedomslips.com. There's usually, 25, 30 people in there. We'll see. Maybe more tonight. Who knows? Let's hope. We'll see. Stendovax. The flippy heart has happened. Alright, I'm going to the Freedom Slips chat room. Isn't it exciting? Some man you just can't reach. Damn, what you get here today, what we had here today was just failure to communicate. That's right. Well, he wants it, he gets it. That's right. We got 25 people over there in the chat. Here we go. What is that?
Mothership has landed. Pirate Radio. Welcome to the jungle.
Ladies and gentlemen, live from the broken down, low rent, sleazy, double greasy Pirate Radio Nut Hut Studios, it's time for the very first ever Southern.
Attention, please. You are receiving a pirate radio transmission. On the air for testing purposes only. Do you receive? Do you receive?
Boldly go where no man has gone before. But outer space has other plans. And now, their mission has changed.
There's just one thing I want.
Revenge, Captain?
Why not?
Introducing the 9th film by Quentin Tarantino.
What were your orders, Kirk? To start a war? You've succeeded!
They meant to bring peace to the galaxy.
This will be your final battlefield.
They brought their pieces instead. It's a galaxy of green blood, green women, and Nazis.
Tell me your orders. You were sent here to kill our Führer. Confess! What in blazes is this?
Captain Kirk, the captain's log isn't the only wood he's packing.
Captain.
Mr. Spock, half Vulcan, half human, full killing machine. Bones, this doctor is the real McCoy. Uhura, sending out vibes on all frequencies. Sulu, deadly at the helm, even deadlier with a blade. Chekhov, one badass mother Russian. And Scotty, he'll give you all he's got.
I didn't say the Enterprise should be hauling garbage.
It should be hauled away as garbage.
Set your phasers to thrill.
Keep your f***ing hands off me.
In this final frontier, their prime directive is to kill. Quentin Tarantino's Star Trek. Voyage to Vengeance.
You're out of your f***ing mind, Spock.
Coming soon.
My name's Jimmy. Welcome to Revolution Radio, and Into the Microcosm is on the air.
And my misfits way of life. Dark black past is my most valued possession. Hindsight is always 20/20, but looking back, it's still a bit fuzzy. Speak of mutually assured destruction. Nice story.
Question is not when we gonna stop, but who we gonna stop.
CPR street gang, most is all biting. Standing by, over. CPR street gang, most is all biting. Standing by, over.
Right now, it's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines,
clock's run out. Time's up. Wind is blowing cold and dark. On the road and no way out. Broken hearts, the smoking gun. On the run. On the run.
Oh yeah, it's Friday night. That's right. And you have found it, ladies and gentlemen. If you have gotten small enough to get through the door, then you are in to the microcosm on Revolution Radio. You're knee deep in the revolution. And you're here with me, your host, for the next 2 hours, ladies and gentlemen. All we have is 120 minutes. Of course, I'm here with the Island King, the Howley King of the Islands, the epic journeyman. Epic, are you there? Oh, hold it.
You know I am. Yeah.
There you go.
I was listening to that intro, and it dawned on me. Everybody in that whole thing with the Quentin Tarantino Star Trek is dead, except for Kirk and Uhura. They're all dead.
Well, see, because it's a dead man's party tonight, isn't it?
It is. And Day of the Dead coming up, right?
I know. And it's a dead man's party. And, Halloween's coming up. And Halloween is one of the biggest retail days of the year now, overtaking Christmas almost in the amount of money being spent on, sexy cop, sexy whatever. It's crazy, man. People,
nurse. Always sexy nurse or kitten.
Sexy nurse. Everything's sexy now, right? Everything used to be scary. Now it's like sexy. It sucks you in with the seductive, lustful quality. Hey, Canadian. And then it sucks you in with that. And then really, it turns out that the mask comes off. The mask. Epic. The mask comes off.
There's a whole series of shows for that.
I'm telling you. The Mask series is coming up, ladies and gentlemen. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. But tonight is the dead man's party, so let's get the party started.
He's dead, Jim. He's dead. Dead, Jim. The man is dead. He's dead, Jim. He's dead. She's dead. It's dead. She's dead. It's dead, Jim.
Let us hear it for our poor dead friend.
Welcome to a night of total terror. Night of the living dead, the dead who live on living flesh, the dead whose haunted souls hunt the living whose bodies are the only food for these ungodly creatures. Night of the living dead. A bizarre adventure in fear. An experience in shock more shattering than your strangest nightmare. Night of the living dead. A night with the dead who cannot die. A night of total terror.
It is a night of total terror, ladies and gentlemen. It's a dead man's party. Dia de los Muertos coming up. That's right. And I'm in California, so... Uh-oh.
He's dead, Jim.
He's dead, Jim. Epic. Are you there?
I am here.
Well, you know, it's a dead man's party, so anything goes. And let me tell you something. If you want to jump on over into the chat room, ladies and gentlemen, it's freedomslips.com/chat. You can jump on in there. It is going off in there. I said it the other night. I thought there was a twerking contest going on there, but I was wrong. Someone was just taking out the trash. I had my glasses on, epic. So I couldn't see that far down at the end of the bar, but it's so smoky in there right now. I think it's the California side of the bar, the West Coast bar part of the bar is blowing a lot of smoke, ladies and gentlemen, in the chat room. So you can join us over there. Canadians in there. Hey, Canadian. RD47. Zerliath. I think you told me how to say that before, and now I blew it because I can't remember. It's got short-term memory loss because it's always 420 in the Santa Cruz Mountains, ladies and gentlemen. The originator, the dominator of outdoor Blue Dream, the Cannabis Cup winner, epic. The Pacololo runs deep over in the islands, I know. But if you buy some Pacololo from someone over there, from a islander, and it turns out not to be Pacololo, but it turns out to be some bushes from the miniature train set down at the hobby shop, you shouldn't go back and say anything to him, should you?
No, it'd be the Pacololo lips.
Man, it's some, there's some stuff that goes on, but they feel like if they take you for a few bucks, it's because you owe it to them because you're coming over the islands. Am I wrong?
It's not that bad though, like that.
No,
I mean,
know.
You know what though? You never know what's going to crop up. That's the thing. So just always be cool.
Yeah, that's the main thing. Is just as long as you're cool, then everything's cool. I mean, that's usually the way it rolls, man. But I mean, the islands is a kickback place. I mean, be respectful. Don't throw no papers.
Respect the land. I mean, seriously, that's like the number one rule. Respect the land. You got to respect the land. Totally.
You do.
Respect the land. Respect the people. Yep.
Well, who are the dead kingpins of the Hawaiian Islands? Can you think anybody dead from Hawaii?
Well, I mean, obviously we got the people who founded the islands and united, Kamehameha, of course. I mean, you see him all the time. Now, I will tell you, they do have that that they call them the night walkers. I'm going to get this wrong. There's this mythos here, where if on certain nights, where if you're out too late and you just happen to be out there, then this procession of these people with the torches and stuff and glowing eyes come walking out of the wilderness in this procession. And if you look at them, you can't look at them. You're supposed to bow down and just put your face down in the dirt, or they'll take your soul basically and send you to the underworld. Not the underworld, but the equivalent. They'll take it. So they make this procession in there, and I want to think what the name of it is. Good Halloween material actually. And I have it totally wrong. It's not called the Firewalkers or Night Walkers or something like that.
You're in your virtual reality headset right now, and you can't go over there and screen on your screen. But, what I want to know is, on your virtual reality, why don't you have that virtual reality set that I've seen where there's like a guy, and he's sitting in his living room, but everything is a screen. It's like, he can see his computer on whatever he wants to look at it on. He can just spread it out.
No, I got that. I got that going on. The thing is, though, that I have to use my controller to type the addresses and stuff. It just takes a long time.
What about, is there any kind of voice to text?
There is. I'm just too lazy to use it. We can't do it during this podcast, obviously, right?
No. Well, you could, but you might fuck it up.
Well,
and then that would, be
right.
uncool. Because,
but I can't do that.
Because people tune in, they get excited. So, but listen, here's the thing. I didn't finish reading the chat out, so let me go back over there because I got caught up in Zerliath, So I think I got caught up. And then me and Albuquerque. Let me hang on, man. I got to stretch that way out to see. How come Albuquerque's getting cut off? Dave Scott's in there. Blasphemous Buddha's in there. Albuquerque, I can only see half your name. Looks like Albuquerque _. And then you got Dave Scott, and then Blasphemous Buddha Grog's in there. Hey, Gare. What's up, Gare Bear? Benu is in there. Lexical Smith, Batsman's in there. What's up, Lexical and Batsman? LB, what's going on? Houdebo, Choppy Waters. Man, Choppy Waters, brother. Nothing worse than choppy water slapping against the bottom of your boat, huh, Epic? Well, I guess you didn't worry about that because you didn't have to worry about the waves slapping up against the side of your boat, did you? Because your boat wasn't in the waves. So
it was under the waves, yeah. Submarine.
You ran silent, ran deep, didn't you?
That's right. To escape these night marchers. That's what they are. The Legend of the Night Marchers. I did use my finagling of the virtual reality headset
nice.
with the screen. So it says, who are they? The night marchers are ghostly apparitions of a band of beings who move with purpose to the beat of primitive pounding drums. Some say they are armed spirit warriors en route to or from a battle, toting archaic weaponry and clothed in decorated helmets and cloaks. Other accounts tell of high-ranking elites, rulers, spirits being guided to places of high importance. Anyway, the thing is, if you see them, you're not supposed to look at them.
That was a dramatic reading of the Night Stalkers. What are they called?
Night Marchers.
Night
Marchers.
The night. See, man, you got to make it sound more sinister.
Oh yeah. The night Marchers.
The Night Marchers.
Now, as we approach the Day of the Dead, Halloween, beware the Night Marchers.
See,
as they march. Yeah, right.
Now, see.
Your soul is in jeopardy.
One more time with feeling, man. Next time.
I know. I'll do a better reading next time.
You had your moment, man, and now your moment has passed, and it's time.
I know.
It's time for us to look.
It's gonna be below the line. It's gonna be below the line now.
It's time to look back in the past. Let's lean on the chat room a little bit tonight. Chat room, let us know. There's a lot of dead people. Most of the greatest humans that have ever lived are dead. And you were saying something about that before the show, as far as the statistics go, as far as that.
There's some critical mass ideas about that. Like the idea that there's more people or equal amount of people alive today is all the people who have ever lived and died, right? So the number of people who have lived and died are equal to the number of people alive, 8 billion or whatever today, right? So conceivably, all the souls of everybody who's ever lived in the entire history of the Earth are alive right now. Now, there's people with statistics and sciencey types that'll come and tell you that that's not true. It's actually like 20 billion compared to 8 billion. But
it doesn't matter what you say. Someone will come along and say it's not true, right?
right. Well, there's people who argue the whole, the 7.2 or going on 8 billion soon, something like that. I haven't seen the latest statistics for how many people are here right now, but there's people who argue that. There's people who tell you, no, that can't possibly be true. If you look at all the space on Earth, man, there's going to be, less than a billion. And of course, that's not backed up by census and things like that, right? So,
all right, but we can't let a little thing like the census get in our way. Now,
census should be dead. Census should be dead.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is...
Come to your senses.
My senses have deadened. Set your phaser on thrill.
That's right.
Well, hey, one of the dudes who's dead tonight in the spotlight, and simply because, for a lot of reasons, but there was a movie that came out, and, since it's Halloween, we're days away. It's really the Halloween weekend, as a lot of people are calling it, because Halloween falls on a Thursday this week. So but sticking with that theme, let me ask you a question now, and I know this is your area, okay, but this is not an invitation for you for this to be a show about that, but I got a question for you. Is there a line from the movie Young Frankenstein that supposedly has a Mandela effect surrounding it?
I have to think about that for a second. You cut me off guard.
Okay. Well, don't worry, because I got two of our dead friends tonight ready to roll. So you think about that.
Now, Gene Wilder was a Mandela effect for a long time. There's a whole thing of back from the dead people that in 2016 to 2018 really peaked. And he was one of the guys who everybody thought had died that hadn't died. That was back to life, basically, along with Jerry Lewis and Billy Graham being the big guy. Yeah.
Man, I saw Jerry Lewis once when I was in Los Angeles. I was on Sunset Boulevard, and I was at a bar up there across the street from Girls, Girls, Girls in that video.
No, you weren't inside, right?
I was inside, yeah, but
okay.
And
Yeah.
here comes Jerry. No, not. I was inside Girls, Girls, Girls. This club is down the street and across the way, the Rainbow. And anyhow, here comes Jerry Lewis in there, and he had two. He had two of these women with him that were like 6'3", and at the time I really didn't think anything of it. But now, given what I've seen today, you know, now that I know what's possible, those might not have been girls. My name's Jimmy. It's Revolution Radio. It is Dead Man's Party. Is Jerry Lewis dead?
Yeah, and that is Mandela effect, you know, because I was there in Las Vegas when he died. His house, Las Vegas, by the Palace Station. And I went, like, paid my respects, drove by and everything, and I moved to San Diego, and years later I learned about the effect, and then I find out he's still alive. It's like, no, man. And everybody else, not everybody, but a lot of people felt the same way. I mean, I remember him specifically dying, you know, and Billy Graham was a huge one for a long time. Now these people actually have died.
Well,
so, yeah.
I know for a fact that Gene Wilder is dead. And here,
yeah, but he was alive for a long time. I'm telling you, he just died
last
year and a half ago.
I don't know if Mel Brooks is dead, but I might declare him dead tonight on the show, right here on Revolution Radio. It'll be a first, because there's a lot of firsts, you know, here on Into the Microcosm. And I think tonight, this Dead Man's Party, I think it's one that we're gonna have a lot of fun with. So you chatters over there, you lively people up there, late nighters, all night longers. Throw down with some dead folks, and we're gonna throw down because it's a Dead Man's Party all night long, or at least for another 90 minutes. My name is Jimmy. That's the Epic Journeyman. He's got his shorts. He's got his beer. I know you got a beer in your hand, man. Don't even lie.
Dr. Frankenstein.
Frankenstein.
You're putting me on.
No, it's pronounced Frankenstein.
Do you also say Froderick?
No, Frederick.
Well, why isn't it Froderick Frankenstein?
It isn't. It's Frederick Frankenstein.
I see.
You must be Igor.
No, it's pronounced Igor.
But they told me it was Igor.
Well, they were wrong then, weren't they?
You were sent by Herr Falkstein, weren't you?
Yes. My grandfather used to work for your grandfather.
How nice.
Of course, the rates have gone up.
Of course. Of course. I'm sure we'll get along splendidly. Oh! Hey, you know, I don't mean to embarrass you, but I'm a rather brilliant surgeon.
My name's Jimmy. It's Dead Man's Party. That's right. Revolution Radio. You're knee deep in it, Epic. Did you wear your hip waders? What do you got? Your shorts on? Beer in your hand? You got do you have your? You got a Hawaiian shirt on?
I do. Yeah, there's a lot of great lines in that movie, but some of the best lines are just at the appropriate times in Young Frankenstein.
I know.
Yeah, like he's just got done, having sex, right? And you understand him. You're so, what she said was something like, "You're such great, to talk to," right? Or when they do the Ritz dance, right? Yeah, he just says, right?
Yeah, Mel Brooks was a genius. He is a genius. I thought he was dead. So for the sake of the show, I was gonna give him an almost dead pass, and then speak as though he was dead. And then at some point, this show would be evergreen, and at some point he would be dead, and then it would be relevant in the future. So.
The poor guy I think he's still hanging in there. We don't want to kill him with the show.
No, I know. But, I mean, hopefully we won't see it tomorrow. God bless him. I mean, hopefully we won't see tomorrow, he died or whatever.
It could be. We're predicting
the
future
yeah,
here.
Dimebag Darrell in San Jose. That's a good one, man. Yeah, let's do that. I'm going to do that for sure. Matter of fact, I'm going to click on it right now. Hold on. Dimebag Darrell is a good dead guy. There are so many dead guys. Aren't there? Isn't there like an overwhelming amount of dead guys?
There are. That's why it's so rare to be a living legend. Right? So when you're a living legend, you got both ways. Most people are legends when they die, right? After they die. I think it's interesting that Halloween's become this most celebrated holiday that's starting to catch up, or even maybe perhaps pass in some ways Christmas, right? Because you had this whole idea of, Christmas, there's a whole history about that too. Like, it's not that old. It's only like 100 and some odd years old. It's not, the actual way we know it today. Very,
there's a lot of contemporary dead musicians, because we're just kind of doing an impromptu. Zerla, thank you for the Dimebag Darrell, because I would have totally forgot to throw him in here. Like I said, there's so many dead guys, because I got a few dead guys I'm thinking of too. And, we jumped straight into what's his nuts over there, Gene Wilder, because he's tied in a spider web of connections to a lot of dead guys who are also really great stars. I mean, he's an actor of the old school, the old guard, as it were. Back when you used to have to be a triple threat before you even got on the lot. You had to know how to sing, dance, and what else? Bend over.
Sing dance at.
Bend over.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, but in other words, you had to be able to I say pantomime. You had to be able to mime. That's not a popular thing to say, but the ability to use your expressions and your gestures to communicate without speaking, and so you had to be able to sing, dance, and do those things. You were a true showman, right? And it goes back centuries, but really just go back to silent movies, vaudeville, and that kind of thing. And he had all those gifts, just like Sammy Davis Jr. Sammy Davis Jr. was a renowned singer and dancer.
Well, there he goes, another dead guy. The whole rat.
Another dead guy.
Yeah, the whole Rat Pack is dead. Are they all dead?
Yeah. They're all dead. Yeah.
They're dead as doornails, ladies and gentlemen.
They're dead. They're dead, Jim.
They're dead. They're dropping like flies, man.
Well, so the reason I think this is interesting.
I got pictures. I got pictures of Lemmy Kilmeister. I got pictures of him backstage. Motorhead played at the club I worked at a bunch of times. I'll show you guys. If there's a way for me to drop those pictures in here, I just can't go through all the, trying to, if I could just drop it in here right now, I would. But I can't, so I won't. But trust me, I got them. I'll post them somewhere, and then you can see them. But
So he's got a lot of stories from the club, back then, yeah.
I know. Well, I mean, Lemmy was a classic, of course, man. But there's a lot more musicians that are dead than we can even count, and they're all great, right? The great ones seem to disappear. You were mentioning something earlier about some of these asphyxiation deaths that all of a sudden were cropping up with a lot of these recent killings or these recent droppings.
Supposed suicides, yeah. It's really interesting, this autoerotic death by hanging thing. Some of these people hanging from a 5-foot ceiling or a closet door, like Robin Williams and Bourdain and just the guy from NXS and David Carradine and all these guys. And there's a tie-in there, an esoteric tie-in, to the Freemasons and the Hanged Man, right? Some of the Hanged Man and the tarot card, right? So it's almost like they betrayed their oath, and that's like a sign of that, right? That's like leaving the calling card. That's what happened. If you want to look at it as some kind of nefarious thing. But I got thinking about this whole Night Marchers thing, and it ties into what we're just talking about pretty interestingly, because what are we talking about? We're talking about kind of ancestor worship, right? That's an ancient phenomena, revering the dead. That's what this holiday is all about, its origins. But what about the idea of passing the torch? Here we go with the Night Marchers, passing the torch, right? And so these artists of the past, these great philosophers of the past, these actors, these entertainers, all these people pass the torch to somebody new who carries on the tradition. And if you look at it now, the reason maybe people pay more homage to the dead people than they used to, and the idea of Halloween being as big as it is now, is the torch hasn't really been passed, has it? I mean, if you think about it, where are the icons of today, the true icons? I mean, that really carried on that torch of the people that from the past, the respect of the ancestors that brought that forward and they learned from. How many are there? There seems like there's a lot less, right? And maybe that vacancy that we all kind of feel, that absence, that void needs to be filled, which makes us think more about our reverence for the past and the dead. Just a thought I had like 10 seconds ago, but still an interesting one.
Yeah, they're bringing up a bunch of people. Dio, they're bringing up Cliff Burton from Metallica. Maybe what I'll do is I'll play that. I'll see if I can dig up that VH1 clip of a younger Metallica talking about what happened to Cliff. And, the whole story about when the bus crashed.
Bus crash, yeah.
Wow. So, I mean, people really, there are a lot of dead people that, I mean, even above and beyond. So, like, we can talk about some comedians too, and because there's so many links you guys dropped in the chat, I'm gonna have to circle back around. So let's keep moving on because we only have so much time and not enough show because there's so many dead people. My name's Jimmy. Tonight it's a dead man's party right here on Into the Microcosm Friday Night Live. It's even healthier than Raw. It's alive. And it's going on right here at Revolution Radio. It's in the microcosm. You got to get small, right, Epic, before you come in. But the thing is once you're in, it's a large space, and so you enlarge once you come in, and then once you're enlarged on the inside, you can't get back out. You got to hang out until Monday when we come back. But you won't be here, I know, because you're working. But
right.
But the point is that once you get in the door, you're welcome to come in. Everybody's welcome in the microcosm. And we're talking about the Day of the Dead. We're talking about dead people. Paul McCartney died in 1966. And the new Paul is Fall. And you don't even have to... I'm with you, Canadian, on that one. 100%. I'd love to. I mean, maybe you guys in the chat are so great. There's more material in there in the chat right now that I could even do before the end of the show. So start thinking in terms of authors, think in terms of What about what's his nuts? Hunter S. Thompson, dead as a doornail. Right? He was a wild writer, just somebody just living in. He was part of the story. He became part of the story. That was his whole angle, right? It wasn't that he covered the Kentucky Derby. It was that he was at the Kentucky Derby and all the stuff that happened to him. He became part of the story. He even tried to become a Hell's Angel for a period of time. Of course, Bon Scott is, when Bon Scott died, AC/DC died as far as I'm concerned. No questionino about that. But epic. Everybody in the chat is still dead on music, man. And I got.
Well, I think the idea of the legacy, right? The legacy, like we're talking about passing the torch. And the reason so many of these dead artists, in particular, and comedians and some of these actors and just people who think about scientists, we get to them probably, is the idea that nobody took their place. So when some of these people left, they were such an innovator at the time, they were copied and became, that innovator of that genre or whatever. But other people passed on, and nobody's taken their place. Nobody's, further. In other words, the high point of the entire thing was their career.
Right. It was
nobody's taken it further.
No, it was their magnum opus. Right. There's a good Eminem song that talks about that. Talks about giving everything you got, and and at the end, it, it's nothing. It's just like a squeak. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? And the world moves on and the wheel turns, and but none of these people are going to be replaced. I mean, today, with the advent of technology, you don't have organic musicians coming out like they did in the past, where it's 4 or 5 guys sitting around a room writing songs. Now it's just, you don't need 4 or 5 guys. You can have one guy, and boom, he can play all the parts. He can do everything himself. He can throw down the drum beats. He gets some live beats. You can go buy some beats. You can do whatever you want.
Garage band.
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying. I mean, you don't really need. So there's this whole canned factor of what's going on, and so without the organic creativity that sparks up in a group of people, I mean, that's what makes a great band. It isn't that they're all great musicians necessarily. It's not that it's the best drummer and the best guitar player and the best bass player. That's not what does it, man. What does it is the chemistry. It's the each piece that each person added to that thing that becomes the whole. And then there's stuff going on, right? And that's why the brilliant people, the musicians that we've known in the past, were able to come forth in a way that they can't necessarily. I don't know, man. They come forth now too. So I mean, it's not as though you can't find people that are playing analog, but
there's gatekeepers now. There always was, right? There's always gatekeepers, but I mean now it's like they have a formula. They want that formula, or you don't make it to the next step, right?
Well,
if you're just some guy playing, not some guy, let's say a band, you're playing out there in Seattle somewhere, and you don't sound like Kurt Cobain, well, you're not going to get picked up, right? Because that's what they want. They want the grunge sound of that. They already have a preconceived notion of what the industry wants, which isn't true. I mean, the Beatles wouldn't have been famous if they weren't allowed to be the Beatles.
Yeah.
They're maybe a bad example in some ways because they also have some Tavistock roots. We all know that. But I mean, the reason they got promoted by Tavistock is because they were good enough to be there, right? So they did do stuff on their own to get at least where they were touring in Berlin.
Were they good enough to be there? Really? I mean,
were they good? No, for the British invasion, no, I don't think so.
No, I'm just saying, were they that good? I'm just saying the thing about it is like, recently I went back and looked at some old, Michael Jackson is another dead guy. But I recently went back and looked at some of those older Jackson 5 videos.
There's that 6th guy now,
Well, here's the thing, man. I started looking at him, and I'm thinking to myself, how would any of us know if they just put these 5 people together, called them brothers, gave them the name Jacksons, and how do we know his pop and his moms or whatever that they weren't just managers, that they just put these kids together and made them seem like a family because they had the Osmonds, the Jacksons, they had all these different family vocal groups that were flying around at the time.
You got my speculation island or out right now. I'm rolling out. I'm rolling out there.
I'm telling you.
Because you know what? Nobody's ever brought this up before, and it's a really interesting thing to think about. Is if you think of it as a corporation that's making this musical, group, right?
Yeah.
Then how do you know that Michael Jackson and all his plastic surgeries that made him look different is the same Michael Jackson at all? That people talk about Paul McCartney dying and being replaced. Well, what if that's not Michael Jackson? What if it's Michael Jackson 2.0 and Michael Jackson 3.0, and finally it's time to end the contract, and we're not going to make him Michael Jackson 4.0.
No, now right? You're just going to sell that box set.
Yeah, because we worth more money dead, and he's either living on Epstein Island or he's he's gone and retired somewhere else.
There's another one, Tupac. Is he dead? I mean, he's a dead guy, but some people say he was in Cuba, and then other people say they have found him under arrest in the system, and it's him because his name wouldn't be in the system in the way that it is because you could search for inmates.
I was in Vegas the day that he got shot, and that was a big fight, and the thing is that it was big news, of course, right? But I talked to I ran a video store at the time, and you meet all the customers, you talk to all these people were out on the street. I mean, it's a city that never sleeps, right? Forget New York, no, it never closes down in Las Vegas, right? And you know what? Nobody saw that shit, dude. Nobody saw it. Hardly anybody actually saw the real thing happen, have the street closed down, and had to fight the traffic roadblocks, all that stuff. It was on the news. I mean, obviously they set up the stuff and filmed the scene, but it wasn't. Nobody saw the blood on the street. Nobody saw the bodies out in the street. Nobody saw that stuff. So, and I was there when it happened. I mean, not there literally on the scene. I just mean like the next day talking to people. So I'm real suspicious about that whole thing because there should be more people.
I did a show on it, man. And I found some stuff because I typically don't get interested in something like that, but what made me interested in it was there was a dude like Suge Knight and 2 or 3 guys had gotten on this tram, to take you to your car at the airport, and some dude was inside the tram with his phone, and he, obviously it was Suge Knight. He's like, "Oh man, Suge Knight's in here," and this and that. And he's talking to him, and he's got him on camera, and Suge Knight knows he's on camera. And so he asked him about Tupac, and it was the way that Suge Knight made this inside joke, the way he looked, his body language, everything he was putting out. It gave me the impression that Tupac was not dead. And 2 guys standing behind Suge Knight laughed at the inside joke. That wasn't funny, really, and so that's what even made it even more realistic. I don't think people could really fake that the way that it looked. So then it got me looking at it, and then apparently there was when Tupac was making this movie, he was playing a drug addict in some movie, and I forget the name of the movie. It doesn't matter, but there was a guy in there. He had done some research, and he had met some guy that had AIDS, and he was about the same size as Tupac. He was going to die. And there was this whole thing where they said that he contracted that guy for his body and all this. And there's a whole really interesting thing that happened with Tupac. Lots of people. I think a couple of people, made a few careers out of just that information alone, with what went on with his mom and some of the black radical undergrounds. His aunt getting broken out of prison.
Well, right. Yeah, no, there's people who've written, and I have not, read these books and these accounts, but I remember reading of them, right, that it tie him into intelligence agency and intelligence work.
That's
that he was an intelligence asset.
He was creative.
And it actually makes a lot of sense because he's a very intelligent guy, right? So, if you watch him act, he's really good at acting. I don't really care about his music that much, actually, honestly. But the thing is, you can see the gears turning behind those eyes. He's not a dumb person. So
No.
it's a likely candidate to be something like an intelligence operative of some kind.
No.
So sure enough, I wouldn't imagine. I could totally see him living on some, a little rural plot in Israel or something
No,
now.
no, it was said that he was in Cuba at the time. This was like, I did that show like 3-4 years ago. Since then, there's been other stuff. Like I said, there's a dude who found his name in the system, in the Los Angeles prison system or something. And there's just no way you can have your name in there in that system because it's for people to find their relatives that are inmates inside the prison. So maybe I'll see what I can do. We only got like 6 minutes before the break. We haven't barely even touched on any of these dead people. It's a dead man's party, and so far it hasn't been much of a party. But when we come back, I'm guaranteeing I'm gonna hang the tiki lights in the chat room, and we're gonna have a party when we come back. Now,
let's break out some Lenny Bruce and Red Fox and George Carlin, maybe.
Yeah, some George Carlin, some Lenny Bruce, maybe some Richard Pryor.
Richard Pryor, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Red Fox.
Red Fox. I mean, all these great comedians from back in the day. Jack Benny, he was funny, man. Rodney Dangerfield.
No respect.
Johnny Carson. I saw Rodney Dangerfield once.
On the street or at a show?
No, I saw him at a show. I saw him at a Circle Star Theater, where the theater, the stage spun around real slow.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
nice.
so no matter where you were, you got...
That's why his eyes were all bugged out all the time. He had vertigo.
My name's Jimmy. The Epic Journeyman's giving me vertigo just a couple minutes before the break. When we come back, it's a dead man's party, and we are going to let it fly. I got all these links here in the chat. Everybody's suggestions. Like I said, there's Cliff Burton. Maybe we'll get into some of that. What happened to Cliff. Maybe we'll get into some of the fall material. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people don't think that's Paul. And, a lot of people say the ear is a dead giveaway on some of that stuff. And, if you think about it, back in the day, didn't most of the criminals, they would wear those skull caps with the thing going over their ears? You know what I'm saying? Hiding their ears because, man, the ear is like a fingerprint. Of course, somebody could lop your ear off or plastic surgery another ear on you. But
well, it was obviously an imposter Van Gogh then. Right? He's cut off his ear, right?
Well, guess what? You know what? There's another person who's recently passed on.
Epstein, yeah? Has that weird ear?
No, not Epstein. Right here. The Nighthawk. We're in the house that the Nighthawk built, and he is a person also that should be at least talked about tonight here on our show, because it's a party, and the Nighthawk's not dead in any sense of the word or the imagination for anybody around here, because his spirit lives on, man. And as you can see, he built this place brick by brick, and as I'm looking around here, the green room's super nice, big old fat couch. Nice fat red couch with the big old fluffy arms hanging over the side. And I'm just laying back right up in here. Got my my cold drink in one hand, my coffee in the other hand, and my finger is on the mouse button, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm going to pull the trigger when we come back, because it is a dead man's party, and let the party begin. We only got 60 more minutes. There's another one. There's another good person for the night, and we will get into that. Bill Hicks. What about Bill Cooper? What about Mae Brussels? I'm bringing Mae Brussels to the table. She's dead.
Yeah, bring in Mae and Charlie Manson. Yeah, they're tied to the
I'm
hip.
bringing in Mae Brussels just because a lot of people never even heard of Mae Brussels, and a lot of people have heard the so-called truth come from a lot of people, but a lot of people don't even know who Mae Brussels is. So we're gonna resurrect some people. I'm gonna go in the back room here, light some incense, grab my owl feathers, and I'm going to waft some incense up into the redwoods in this dark night. The moon is like a sliver in this black velvet night over here, Epic. I don't know if it's even, is it even dark where you are?
No, we have great stars, because there's no smog, right? So the trade wind, so great view of the stars all the time, but I'm telling you, man, you're talking all this stuff, talking about the elders and the ancients and the ancestors. I half expect to come back and put on the headphones and be like, hey, oh,
you better watch out. It might be ghost time. It might be time for the ghost.
Next thing you know, it's gonna start raining over here.
Don't worry, I'm gonna do the ghost dance over here.
I know what I'm talking about, man.
Will.
But make sure you're the right one, or it'll start raining.
Don't worry about it, man. I know the right one. My name's Jimmy. It's in the Microcosmos Friday Night Live. It's better than Raw. It's live. That's right. So don't worry about it. Forget it. We got your backs right here at Revolution Radio. You can donate over there, and we hope you do, because we are fully self-supported through the generous contributions of our listeners, and we make the generous contributions on our end. So hopefully, if you got something to give, you will. If you don't, you'll pass it on and say a prayer for everybody. And we appreciate this place, and we appreciate the opportunity to be here, and we appreciate the Nighthawk and honoring him tonight here on Into the Microcosm. The break's coming up, Epic, in 30 or 40 seconds. I'm not even sure at this point. My eyes are, I got my glasses on, but I'm staring straight up into Christmas. And every time I look back, I'm looking into the new year. I don't know. It's crazy. Halloween's coming. It's the Day of the Dead. It's Into the Microcosm. It's a dead man's party. We'll see you after the break, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back. Don't even sweat it.
Set up, jump the boogie, power with the bada bang, the bang, diggy, 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 set the boogie, set up.
Thank you. All right, let's get serious now. Well, I bet.
Bada bang, the bang, diggy, 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 set the boogie.
Thank you.
All right. We're still live on YouTube. Hey, YouTubes. So, we're here. We're just going to be getting ready to come back. We're out of there. I hung up, so we're free to talk over here. Do whatever. Epic, are you there? No, Epic's gone. I think he's gone. Epic's still on the other call. I don't know why. But I'll call him over here so he hangs up over there. Oh, God. All right, well, it is what it is, man. All right. Sorry, I didn't mean to breathe so heavy into the microphone. I keep forgetting because I got windows up in front of this other window that shows me being on here. So I keep forgetting I'm on camera. So I hope I didn't make a fool of myself, make weird faces while I'm staring up at the screen. Catching flies with my mouth open. Epic's Journeymans is unavailable. We got 3 minutes. Hang on a second. Man, I got all caught up making that audio, and I didn't get out to the store to buy myself any cigarettes, and now I'm sitting here barely even scratching by. I'm wondering if I should play my guilty piece. I should. What do you think? There's a lot of people on over here that are conservatives that might get pissed off. So I'll play that for sure. Just because, I mean, we're having fun, right? I mean, people gotta have a sense of humor, right? What's it without a sense of humor? What was I gonna play again? Oh, the guilty thing? Yeah, alright. Don't worry. 2 more minutes. I don't know where the Epic Journeyman went. He said he's here. What the fuck?
Ahoy!
I hung up on that other call, man. So I'm over here on YouTube still. So
Okay.
I don't know.
I'm still connected on the other side.
Yeah, that's fine. Hang up on it. We don't want you connected.
Okay.
Hang up on the whole call. In other words, remove it from the call. Right click on it and remove it.
Let's see if I can do that. Hold on.
I'm just going to go over there and remove the whole call.
All right. So, yeah, I'll bill it. So, yeah, I'm still there. But
yeah, you need to hang up on it. Either that or I'm going to go back to it. And just hang up on this and just go back to that and stay over there.
All right.
And I'll come back.
Cool.
Yeah. We got 3 minutes. All right. What the fuck am I doing here? Pour myself another cup of coffee. I'm Frankenstein. It's the Day of the Dead. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, it's time to go back, Jack, and do it again, sonny boy. All right, here we go. Going back. I'm joining it. Okay, I am on the line. I am on the line. I'm just waiting for him to say something. All right, here we go.
All right, let's get serious.
Let's get serious.
Well, I've been down so goddamn long that it looks like up to me. I've been down so very damn long that it looks like up to me.
Well, if you're looking for a sign in the middle of the night, then you've come to the right place, ladies and gentlemen. The Revolution Radio is on the air. And that's right. We're beaming in from all over the planet. Oh, yeah. Remember this one now?
All the women in the palm of my hand, and I told them, treat her like a lady, treat her like best you can do. You gotta treat her like a lady, she giving.
Man, there's all kinds of bodies around NWA, man. There's dead people.
Like a doctor, when I rock the mic, you got to like the way I operate. I make miracles happen just from rapping. I'm so lyrically potent, and I'm floating and exploding on the scene. Mean, I got the potential to make it go then chill.
There's
I got the
something else
credential that is essential to make a rhyme and chill.
after a
Skill and
death.
kill the weak rapper, the no frill.
But this one involves belief, which is where I begin to have big problems. This one happens after the funeral, after the burial, back at the house. Back at the house where the family and friends and the loved ones of the deceased are having some food and drink and enjoying some warm reminiscences of the person who passed away. Sooner or later, someone is bound to say the following, especially after a few drinks. You know, I think he's up there now, smiling down at us. And I think he's pleased. Now, first of all, there is no up there. For people to be smiling down from. It's poetic, it's quaint, and I guess for superstitious people it provides a little comfort, but it doesn't exist. But if it did, and if someone did somehow survive death in a non-physical form, I personally think he'd be far too busy with other celestial activities than to be standing around paradise, smiling down. On live people. What kind of a fucking eternity is that? And why is it no one ever says, I think he's down there now, smiling up at us? Apparently, it never occurs to people that their loved ones might be in hell. Your parents could be in hell right now. Your parents in hell. Your father for sure. Oh, shit. Hell is full of dads. Full of dads. Even the ones who took you to the ball game. Just for beating the shit out of you once too often. And fucking the neighbor lady. And fucking the neighbor dog.
You know, I feel like I'm losing some of you here, and I want to win all of you back with this one. Let's talk about abortion. Let's talk about child killing and see if we can't get some chuckles rippling through the room here. Let's talk about mass murder of young, unborn children and see if we can't coalesce into one big, healthy gut laugh. Boy, I've never seen an issue so divisive. You ever seen it? It's like a civil war, isn't it? Even amongst my friends, who are all very intelligent, they are totally divided on abortion. It's unbelievable. Some of my friends, for instance, think these pro-life people are annoying idiots. Other of my friends think these pro-life people are evil fucks. How are we going to come to a consensus? You ought to hear the arguments around my house. They're annoying, they're idiots, they're evil, they're fucks! Brothers, sisters, come together. Can't we once just join hands and think of them as evil, annoying idiot fucks? I beseech you. But that's me, Libra rising. The scale.
It's 12:12. Bill Hicks. So these choices came straight out of the chat room over here at freedomslips.com/chat, the interactive chat room. And believe me, there's a lot of interaction going on over there right now because that Bill Hicks and that George Carlin stimulated a bunch of conversation. So let me just say, all right, there's a lot of viewpoints that a lot of comedians have on different stuff, you know, and so these are just a couple of videos that were a couple of minutes long, but these are hot button issues, man, because you know when you start talking about this stuff, you talk about personal belief systems and getting a laugh out of the fact that there's a whole bunch of people that think for some reason whatever other people believe is ridiculous, and it's so ridiculous that there's a whole bunch of people that sit back and laugh at it, right? So that kind of makes it funny, because you know, kind of like, aren't we trained in a way, Epic, sort of like monkey see, monkey do, just because human beings, you know, that's what we do. You know, we saw, you know, as monkey men. These hairy beasts living in caves. You know, we saw one guy make a fire, and then we started making a fire, right? Originally, there was one guy, you know, that started it all. Right? And everybody else copied that guy, right? The guy came up with an idea. They came over and said, hey, what are you doing over here? It looks like you got a few domesticated animals. You're planting some crops.
Well, and that's when we looked at them and said, you realize how ridiculous we look doing that? And that was the birth of comedy. Right now. Look at that guy bent over rubbing some sticks together. What the hell? How many sticks you go out and rub together, you know? How long does it take before, you know? Anyway, so that was the first stand-up.
I know it, but you know, what's funny is like, not only is what is funny have to do with what time period it is a lot of times. Because a lot of times, see now things that
that was funny,
right? And now things that are considered funny now aren't funny, and the things that were jokes, the sarcastic humor that was funny because it was ironic. You know, ironic humor or irony is almost literally non-existent. I mean, the irony is there, but the ironic plan isn't there necessarily. You know what I mean? It's not built in. It's not like, you know, the understanding of the sarcasm only goes so far, in as that the audience that you're talking to is educated enough to find whatever it is you're being sarcastic about.
Exactly right. See,
right.
That's the whole point. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So like when you're Bill Hicks and you're a super smart comedian and you're telling jokes on a super high level, certain kinds of people come to see those shows, you know, and you have a certain kind of audience. That's why in the beginning he really didn't have they censored a lot of what he was doing, but a lot of people copied what he's doing. Like Dennis Leary pretty much, you know, took what Bill Hicks was doing and sort of just made it a little bit more palatable for the mainstream audience.
Boston sarcasm, yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, that whole thing, no cure for cancer. I mean,
I'm an asshole. That was his famous one, right?
Yeah, I'm an asshole. No, but I'm just saying. I'm just saying that concert, no cure for cancer. I mean, he was a dead ripoff of Bill Hicks, if you ask me. But
I got a great tie into that, actually. Sorry, I don't want to go too far off the beaten path, but we're to stay with dead people. So I think there's a great one because we're talking about censorship. And censorship at the time, you know, everybody talks about how great a comedian Lenny Bruce was. But go try to find a bunch of his original uncensored stuff. There's none out there. It's really rare. And even at the time that he was promoted at his best away from the censors, because the censors tried to bury him completely. He was like almost like a blacklisted comedian for a long time. It was on that route, right? And it was Hugh Hefner who took him in at the Playboy Mansion and the old Playboy After Dark shows and stuff as a regular guest, along with Sammy Davis Jr., right? So now we're going with all these dead people, right? So we're talking about Hugh Hefner.
He's dead.
Sammy Davis Jr.
Dead.
Yeah. Lenny Bruce.
Dead.
Right? Nielsen. I think he's dead. Yeah.
He's dead, Jim.
All the people who stayed at Nielsen's house are definitely dead. His flat in London, right? Mama Cass Elliot and Peter Moon and all those guys. But anyway, so Jerry Garcia.
Dead.
Dead on Playboy After Dark, right? Like I said, Sammy Davis Jr. I mentioned before, the entire Rat Pack. But also all these people who appeared on this show. Now, yes, it's an older show, but it's not that old. Almost all those people are dead. Almost all of them. And it's interesting to me that the first platform that tried to kind of fight censorship was this show in a way. And all those people are dead. Every single one of them. I can't think of one that isn't. I'm sure there's one out there.
I'll tell you somebody. I don't think he's dead.
Bill Cosby's still alive. He was on there. Yep, he used to hide in the background a lot. There's a whole story about that, though. But Lenny Bruce, yeah, no Lenny Bruce clips of his censored stuff.
Well, we did a show called "Don't Take My Words," and we talked about Lenny Bruce, and because in court, that's what he said is "Don't take my words." That's all I have. You know, that's all I have is my freedom of speech. Don't take my words. And so, mine's Jimmy. It's a dead man's party. And the chat room was so generous earlier, and I played some of the clips that you guys picked. And now I want to go back to one more musical person. I want to go back to Cliff Burton. Here we go. I'm gonna go into this. Here's what happened for Cliff.
On this bus, nothing could touch you.
But Metallica's wild ride would soon come crashing to a halt.
On September 27, 1986, the band was traveling by bus on the road between Stockholm and Copenhagen.
On that European tour, you know, we had a really bad bus.
These particular buses weren't purpose-built that we have now. They have normal windows like a passenger coach, and the bunks are just bolted in. Then they put cardboard over the windows.
Earlier that night, a friendly dispute between Kirk and Cliff over sleeping arrangements concluded with a draw of cards.
The first card that Cliff picked was the ace of spades, and he looked at me and said, "I want your bunk." And I said, "Fine, you take my bunk, I'll sleep up front. That's probably better anyway, you know." Later on that night, about 5 or 6 in the morning, I heard a skidding, I heard a vibration, and then this motion. I thought we were going off a cliff.
He overcorrected to get back onto the road, and as he did, the back end came around this way, and it started chomp, chomp, chomp.
It's the sound of screeching brakes and being flipped around like a piece of clothes in a dryer.
Just woke up, like hot coffee getting poured all over me, you know, from the coffee machine, and, you know, the bus was on its side.
What happened? Is the bus gonna blow up?
I jumped out of the bus, took off, did the 100-yard dash in about 7 seconds flat.
And we're standing out there in our underwear and, you know, 10 below.
And I heard everyone screaming except for Cliff. And I thought, oh my God, something's wrong.
Seeing the bus driver just, you know, freaking frantic.
And I turned around and I saw Cliff's legs sticking out from underneath the bus.
I went to, you know, pull him out, wake him up or whatever. It's like, you know, he's not moving.
And the driver walked over and started pulling on the blanket that was underneath the bus next to Cliff. And I said, "What are you doing?"
I grabbed him and said, "Don't you take that away from him."
Against all odds, the band hoped that somehow, some way, Cliff could be saved.
A crane turned up, a big crane with a jib and all that, and they hooked a chain around the bus, and they picked the bus up.
There's still people trapped under the bus, but everyone else was okay.
I don't know if Cliff was dead at this point or not, because the bus actually slipped back after they picked it up. They lifted it to pull him out, and it slipped back and landed again on the floor.
After that, you know, I was in such shock that everything else for the next 3 or 4 hours, I can't even remember.
Kirk and James yelling at the driver.
"What did you do? What did you do?"
What happened? You know, what's going on? You know, is this guy drunk or la la la? Oh, we hit some black ice. And I recall in my underwear, you know, and socks, walking for miles, looking for this black ice, walking back on. Where's this black ice? I don't see any black ice. And I wanted to kill this guy. I was gonna end him there.
Early Saturday morning, September 27th, 1986, on the road near Lindsay, Sweden, Cliff Burton died. He was 24 years old.
He just got thrown out the window and boom, the bus landed on him. And basically, by all accounts, I mean, he never woke up.
You know, to this day, I just think, you know, it could have been me, couldn't have been me, but it's never left me to this day.
You always feel protected on tour. Nothing bad can happen like this. It's not allowed. You know what I mean? This is rock and roll, man. Nobody dies. But they do, and it had happened, and it was hard to grasp that.
Drinkers we were.
My name's Jimmy. Cliff Burton. Gone. Just like that. Ace of Spades. Dancing with the devil.
Double up or quit, double strike or split, the ace of spades.
That's the way I like it, baby. I don't want to live forever.
Lemmy. Dead. Another dead man. Is he dead?
So we got an interesting theme, I think, going with this, with the bus crash starting it off. You know, not just with rock stars, with stars in general. You know, he's the only bus fatality that I can think of, but there's been a ton, especially in rock fandom, not fandom, in rock, you know, bands who died in plane crashes, and a whole number of movie stars who died in both plane crashes and automobile accidents.
It's almost,
so famously
it's almost
Jane Mansfield, right? But yeah,
it's almost like you get to be in a certain position for a certain period of time. You get paid X amount of dollars for this period of time where you get to roll around and act like a star. And you're on TV and you're just being self-promoted over and over again through these same organizations. They're just using your iconic figure that they've created for the world to consume by pounding it on radios and having you go on TV shows and all this and making you in the public eye, making you a celebrity, you know. And so when they create these characters, and then it seems like they just at some point they're dead. They just disappear, right? But really, are they dead? I mean, when does a person die? When you're out of the system, are you dead? Because if the system can no longer, if the host can no longer parasitically suck your blood because you don't exist for the system, are you at that point now dead?
Well, think about it. This is why I got the oars out. I'm going out to Speculation Island again. I'm rowing a little farther out because I'm going back into the island now. You know, I haven't been there really before, and I'm avoiding those torches on this side. So I'm going to get out there a little farther and go out in the dark a little bit. But I'm telling you, the big theme that all these things have in common is you can't identify the body, right? I mean, if you get crushed by a bus, you're not going to be able to identify the body, really. But they've had his toe out there, right? So okay, so there's that. You know, if you crash, Bob Denver crashed into the waves out there in
what
California.
About the day the music died?
The day the music died. I was gonna bring that up, right? Of course, and Leonard Skinner and Ayala, right? When she did the movie Queen of the Damned, ironically.
Yeah.
Premieres and she dies right as it premieres, right?
And Cannon in the chat. Hey, Cannon, I haven't answered your email. I did get it, and I will look into that. I've been super busy this week, but he mentioned Natalie Wood, and somebody else.
Natalie Wood drowns, right?
Right, but hold on there, little buckaroo, because earlier somebody mentioned James Dean, who's tied to Natalie Wood, and there's a Rebel Without a Cause curse.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Where
Dead Man's Curve.
Sal Mineo, Natalie Wood, and James Dean. Okay, now look at this. Christopher Walken was on the boat.
Right, he was.
With
he just done Brainstorm with Natalie Wood and her husband. What's his name? That from Heart to Heart.
Wagner.
Wagner.
Exactly, Wagner. Robert Wagner, America's sweetheart. You know what happened, man? There's a lot of weird stuff that happens to these people, man. You know, it's
Dennis
always.
Wilson drowned on
but
the back
is it?
of his
And it's
boat.
always these dramatic fireball situations that they also milk and use as a launching pad to launch the box set or whatever. You know what I mean? I mean, box sets they didn't have back then, but you know what I'm saying. But you know, they start running. There you go, Bennu. Robert Wagner, Exactamundos. But you know what I mean? They put these guys out there, and then that's the character, right? But then the character's up, contract's up. Doesn't matter. Your name could be Elon Musk. You know, your name could be Robert Wagner. Your name could be Billy Crystal. Your name could be whatever it is.
What about all the guys who talked to Eric Clapton right before they died? There's a whole thing about that, like with Jimmy. Help me out here. Yeah.
Where?
Our main man.
Who?
Yeah, but
Another
then,
dead
and
guy?
Of course, he gave the helicopter ride to Stevie Van Zandt, right? And yeah, I mean, you know, you go ahead and take the ride. He crashes, right?
Yeah, man. Bye, Miss American Pie. Rode the Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry.
And the guy who survived, the guy who wrote Runaway from New Jersey, I can't remember his name at all right now, but he survived, and the reason he survived, it's a trippy. His story is a trip one. If you think about it, the story is
They
really
always
trippy.
leave a survivor to tell the
Story,
tale,
right?
man.
Because the amount it was going to cost him to the penny for the ticket, his part of the ticket was the exact same as his rent that his parents paid at his house in New Jersey. And he said, "No, I'm not going to do that." And so because he realized, I'm not that big of a star, right? I'm never going to be that big, whatever he's saying. He said, "I'm not going to pay my, mom and dad's rent to go just ride across, a couple states or whatever."
All right, here's a
And so he
couple.
didn't-
Here's a couple more dead guys. Listen to this. And these guys have something in common, man. Here, check this out. I'm gonna throw 2 names out there, man. These are good names too, because Colorado is a great state. The great state of Colorado it's an excellent state. It's also a 420 friendly state with lots of hot springs and excellent food everywhere you go. So, highly recommend you pop in there. But I would definitely stay away from the eastern slope. You stay over in Aspen, and speaking of Aspen, what we're talking about is it's a dead man's party, and you could not have a party without Sonny Bono and John Denver popping in. Now, Sonny Bono, man, he just accidentally skied into a tree. And John,
and it's such a cool name to name that kind of accident after for skiers and snowboarders, because don't you think that they should just? I know it's disrespectful,
dude,
but,
Sonny
oh,
Bono.
man, he bonoed. Oh man, don't Bono, right? I mean that's the
don't
perfect
Bono,
name, right?
dude, never Bono.
It is, but they
And
respect
don't-
him too much.
and I would
but
say don't-
It is a perfect skateboarder, surf.
At this
snowboarder name.
At this point, I don't like Bono either. So don't Bono and don't Bono either.
Am I booging you?
You're booging me, man. You're booging me. But my name's Jimmy, and we only got 20 minutes left, man. See, we got more show than we got time. Well, what about Mr. Rocky Mountain High himself, man? He was flying high in a craft.
Single engine Cessna, right?
No, man. This was one of those floaty crafts that you can fly yourself. It's like a one-man rig. You don't need a license to fly it.
Oh, really? I misremembered that one.
This wasn't. Yeah, no. He died in one of those I forget what they're called, ultralights. Yeah, he was into those ultralights, man. And that's what he died in. Ba-boom. He just went, see, man. That's the thing. I've been watching a lot of these, it's kind of off topic for a second, but, man, I've been watching a lot of these flying suit videos. And those flying suits are they're pretty cool. I mean,
well, one guy's got the one just like straight out of Spider-Man, right, with the Hobgoblin, right, where he's like, it's like a surfboard almost. You ride that little thing, but if you fuck up, pardon my French, radio people,
there's a powerful Masonic lodge in Aspen. There's a lot of really powerful things that go on in Aspen. Aspen is a super like under the radar type of place. Everybody goes, oh yeah, it's just the rich people or whatever. Yeah, no, whatever. But the dude who discovered the God particle or whatever, his house is literally as big as an apartment complex, and it's right on the mountain above town in Aspen. So I lived up there for a couple years, up in Aspen, not in Aspen, but in Glenwood. And but I mean, I go to Aspen because it's a cool place, even though there's a lot of money up there. It's still a cool place to go. There's good, really great food, great music up there. There's a bar up there called the Belly Up, and the 70 freeway runs through Colorado from Utah, and all the big name acts stop in. Plus, you have the Aspen Jazz Festival every year, and there's all kinds of stuff going on up there. And Sonny Bono, he went babooch. He's gone, and Mr. Rocky Mountain High, Colorado, is gone too. He in his little plane. So many people are gone, man. They're dead and gone.
Back up until the early 90s, really, They didn't allow DNA evidence. So it was dental records or nothing. So if you crashed in a plane and couldn't get dental records, or you had an unidentifiable body, it was completely possible for some of these people to disappear.
Here you go. Here's another dead person. 2 dead people. Ron Goldman and OJ's wife.
And the witness, the dog, survived.
Well, listen, here's the thing. This was the first time in the history of mankind that DNA evidence was entered into court, and people didn't understand what they were talking about, and they didn't really, it was the part of the trial that nobody cared about, but it was the most important part of that trial, if not the most important part. The rest of what went on in that trial was almost like television, in a way, kind of like, you know, when your contract's up and it seems like you went to jail or whatever, like that, but you're really somewhere else. But then you actually end up in jail because you do something stupid and you end up in jail. But prior to that, you were just rolling, you know, doing your thing or whatever, right? He was free, right? Because he got, you know, if the glove don't fit, you must quit.
Yeah, and he goes and holds his people at gunpoint to get his paraphernalia back from his USC days or whatever, right? USC, right? In Vegas,
well, I'm just saying.
What the hell was he thinking? Yeah.
I'm just saying. Was he in movies or not?
He was.
Okay,
Naked
so
Gun,
you might say he
and of
was,
course, Capricorn 1, where they faked the Mars landing. Yeah.
You might say that he was an actor, then, wouldn't you?
An actor. Yep. I'd
Okay,
say so.
All right, so let's just say he's in Los Angeles. How hard is it to come up with some helicopters with a camera on the side while you're doing your low-speed chase in your white Bronco?
And not hard at all.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Kato Caitlin, what a character. I mean, a bunch of characters. That thing, people were glued to their televisions watching that.
Oh, I watched them all every day. Yeah, the whole trial. You know, and to me, there's so many things about that were so interesting, because the witness was the dog, right? Kato, the dog was named Kato after Kato Caitlin, right? And it was a big Akita dog. I mean, that's not some dog that's going to walk by as a stranger, by the way. I mean, you have to know that dog. And so the one glove they recovered in the yard had the belly of Kato on the glove, right? But it wasn't admitted into evidence. And here you go, somebody who knew that dog rubbed his belly while he was waiting to ambush them. But the thing is,
well,
it's so
listen,
mismanaged. But you think about what you're just talking about, like the whole thing's a show.
the
Like,
whole
if you look at it
thing
from
was a
perspective-
show. The whole thing was
Yeah.
a show, but the whole purpose of it was to get DNA evidence
DNA.
allowed into court as evidence to prove, because he didn't get convicted, but he was convicted with the DNA evidence. But the jury did not understand it. But see, in the future, the DNA evidence will be irrefutable in the sense that there will be a machine to determine if that is your DNA or it is not your DNA. And at that point, there'll be no, because they've said that now you can be found guilty simply by your DNA being on the crime scene. And then once you've given over your
DNA
trust,
sample for ancestors.com or something.
well,
or
no, but you
23andMe.
give over your trust to the system that says, when this system says that's your DNA, then you say, okay, well, when that system says it's my DNA, then it is. So then at that point, then anybody is ready and willing to go on into the system, because they could just say, this is your DNA and here it is. That's you. And you were here.
You could totally talk about the people who died. We could clone them, right, with their DNA sample. So there's that. But here's the other thing. Think about this, the idea of the operation of DNA itself. I mean, how many times you hear in the news, almost every day it seems, at least once a week, it gets promoted somewhere. You hear about it in the news, if you're reading on the internet or watching a news program. And it's like, oh, so-and-so was cleared of crimes today through DNA evidence. Oh, they did DNA such and such. Hey, you know, I found out how much I love my heritage because of my sample from Ancestry.com. And hey, you know, 23andMe showed me this and that. That they're promoting the whole idea of giving up your DNA and showing how it can liberate you and tell you useful things.
A lot of people are finding out that that ain't your daddy or whatever, too. And that's, which
it
is
ain't your daddy.com.
I ain't your daddy.com. That's some funny shit. My name's Jimmy. We're not laughing at you. Yeah, no.
Yo, man, I ain't your daddy.com. It ain't gonna rain tomorrow.
Yeah, we're not laughing at you. We're laughing with you. Come on, man. That was, you gotta admit that was funny. Anyways, anyways, we're hanging long and deep right now. We're going deep. We only got about, we only got 16 minutes left, and there's so many skeletons in the closet over here, as it were. I mean, when you look back over time, there's never going to, I'm not saying that they were the greatest of all time either. I'm just saying there's never going to be another Jimi Hendrix. There's never going to be a time when there can be a Jimi Hendrix again. What spawned the idea of Jimi Hendrix, whether or not he was a character or not, whether he was a player that bopped in for a minute to become this dude, to become the, streaking star across the sky, then he's out of the picture, and then they continue to make money from the pop culture of it for the rest of time, because they own the rights to it. So if they own the rights to it and it's a property, then the name is a property. If my name's Joe Pesci, is my name really Joe Pesci? Or is Joe Pesci a limited liability corporation that's owned by some people that pay me some money to go do some stuff for them, make movies? What's the difference between that and an Elon Musk? Or, like I'm saying, or a Mark Zuckerberg is a more typical example of what I'm talking about. Just somebody.
You got to pass it on to Utes. You got to pass it on to Utes. Yeah, no, I was thinking about that. The whole, you brought up Jimi Hendrix again, and I was thinking of Janis Joplin. I was watching some Ed Sullivan interviews with both those people. It's really interesting to watch those now, and they, I think Morrison's the only one of the 27 Club that didn't do an Ed Sullivan interview. But the whole idea of this 27 Club is actually very interesting. We talk about the people who died. The idea that all these people died at 27 in the music industry at that time is really, really interesting.
It's interesting. What's interesting about 27?
Adds up to 9.
That's right. You got that right, Jack.
Number 9.
Number 9. Yeah, you always want to get down to a single digit. You know what's funny to me? I like when people try to create some fear around a certain date, and they always only use the last 2 numbers of the year, so it adds up to whatever it is, But they always leave out the other 2 numbers of the year that you have to add in there, because that number has to be reduced down to its lowest number. And so when you add those other 2 numbers in, that people always leave out because they always want to use the last 2 numbers. To make it add up, but if you actually added it up to what the really number is, the number wouldn't be what people are trying to say it is. The whole thing would fall apart. Secret teachings, or whatever.
I'm responding to the chat about Norfolk Island with Ken right now. Yeah, that's a really interesting story. We're gonna have track on that. Those guys are all dead too. Those are the mutiny on the Bounty mutineers, right?
Yeah,
he got put there. But yeah, it's a fascinating story there too. But that's a story for another day.
But I'll keel
27 Club.
I'll keel haul you if you try to tell that story right now, because we only got 12 minutes left.
No way. Not going to tell that story now. But 27 Club, that's interesting. If you go back and look at the other people, the other artists who died at 27 cents, I have not added those up yet to see how many there were.
Here's the thing, though. What makes more sense? If there's a corporation that sits over the top of making money off of whatever it is, right? Because the whole game was, this was the getting you signed game. To be signed by a label, they would go, okay, Epic, we really like your song, and we really like your group, so we're gonna sign you this record contract. We're gonna bring you into the studio, and we're gonna cut an album. right? And then the band would go in and cut that album with their creativity and their energy levels and their situations and their mixture and their organic, compositions. And then the record company would say, well, listen, it cost $250,000 to produce your record. So now you guys owe us $250,000. But don't worry, Epic, don't sweat, because what we're going to do is we're basically just going to let you run around in this cars. We got this nice collection of cars for you. You're going to live in this mansion that we own over here in Bel Air. Okay? You got the free run of the place. Do whatever you want. Here's a black card, and just live it up, son, because contract's going to be up at some point, and when that happens, somebody in the band's going to, and then that's it. Unless we're making so much money that we can't afford it, and then what we'll do is we'll get a fake guy, a fake bass player, right-handed bass player, and try to make him play left-handed bass and be shorter.
Other single-engine plane crash guy who might have been 27, worth checking out. Randy Rhoads with Ozzy Osbourne, right?
Oh yeah, man. There you go.
And it's a double whammy because he was hitting the top of his bus, right? He was doing touch and goes off the top of his bus and plowed into his house. Well, Ozzy was sacked out, passed out. And,
see, man, that's what always happens too, man. It's that that 1 second, that moment that you realize that this is the time that you made a mistake, a fatal mistake that you're not gonna live from. Because lots of people, almost had near-death experiences or whatever. But like something happens, that one day that something happens, and you realize in that moment that you're not going to be able to avoid that accident that you normally would avoid or whatever. And that moment happens, and the moment of truth. And then it becomes a dead man's party, all right, but you're on the other side of the party, wall where everybody's smiling. Everybody's walking around, and there's fruit in the trees, and everybody's just, enjoying life and just life everlasting. You know what I'm saying? Life, the afterlife.
But you were in the game. You were in the game. You played the game. You were in the game. You can reminisce about being in the game maybe someday.
And now
now you're back. Yeah.
Yeah. Now you can shower off. Put on the white robes, and just lounge around in this Eden-like climate, just eating fruits and just doing whatever you want to do, and just hanging out, playing harps.
I think eternity is a lot different than that, though. I do think that you when personal idea, you get to go anywhere in the cosmos your mind takes you to go. You can go anywhere. You're not bound by your body anymore. You're in a spiritual realm. So, yeah, I mean, why you be sitting there playing a harp and wearing robes in a cloud somewhere? Nobody does that.
No,
it's like the
I
most
know.
ridiculous thing ever, right?
I know, but the thing,
but it is interesting to think about the fact, though, this idea of quantum immortality. Now we're talking about how it ties into the dead man's party, because people almost die every day. We've all had it happen to us, right? Like I called it my Air Centra day one time, where I was driving on the way to Vegas for my uncle to move on my 40th birthday, and some guy cut in front of me in a bus, actually, right? So I came out and I was wedged, and I was going to hit the bus or hit the other guy, and I went off the road and sailed like 300 feet through the air. Right? And I ended in a wash and hit like the arresting fence on the other side. And when I landed, I tried to slam on the brakes, and of course you can't brake in the air, and so it hurt my foot when I landed because my foot was totally down when I hit the ground. But all four tires landed at the same time. And when I got there and I got out, the engine stopped, of course, everything. And I'm like, man, what am I, man? And I'm shocked, in shock totally. And I get out, and the first thing I do,
Mike,
is I touch my shoulder, and I touch my face, and I touch my knees, and like everything, like I'm alive. Because I totally thought I was going to die. There's nothing worse than being airborne at 70 miles an hour and realizing that you can't slam on the brakes. Yeah, that's a really bad feeling. And so you got, and I got that drop off sensation you get like going off a roller coaster, where you get the inertia, right?
Yeah, that ain't good, man.
Yeah.
It's never good to feel the
right?
inertia of the roller coaster as you're flying through the air. Mine's Jimmy. We're flying through the air, and we literally have hardly but 6 minutes left, and there's there's a volcano of activity going on in the Chatskis. And lots of people are talking about the Beatles, and they're talking about the Monkees. Listen, you want to talk about the Monkees, the guy you want to talk about in the Monkees is Michael Nesmith. That cat is influential in a lot of ways. He has a lot to do with a lot of stuff, and he wasn't just the dude with the hat and the band or whatever.
Nope. Mom invented whiteout.
Well, there you go. Where would we be without whiteout?
I mean, literally, though. Literally. I mean, that's just another thing, though. Like, is that really the truth of his legacy, or is there a lot more to it? Because he has a lot of ties to other things. Totally.
Yeah, the doo-wop groups, a lot of the doo-wop groups, especially the black groups, all came out of a specific house where everybody went to get discovered, and they just pick you and throw you in. You know what's a good movie to watch, which I really enjoy myself? It's with Liv Taylor and what's his nuts, who I can't stand, but Tom Hanks. It's called That Thing You Do, and it's about like
I could never watch the movie. Yeah, I know, right? I never watched about Motown. It's about Motown, right?
No, it's
Basically.
just, no.
It's not really Motown, yeah, but
it's
that
more
kind of
about
thing, though.
it's more about Brill Building. It's more because the white people came out of the Brill Building,
Right.
and the black people were coming out of Detroit.
Yeah, but it was like the equivalent of Motown. That's what I meant. It's like
But
the doo-wop groups coming together.
And it was just like filtering mechanisms where they weeded everybody, they whittled all the people down. But it was also brownstone operations, just like we were talking about. They discover people who want to be stars, you know, and then they filter those people into situations where they never end up making it in the business, but they end up being part of the situation where they get used up and, you know, used around, passed around, whatever.
Well, they become an agent. If they don't make it, they become an agent. If they don't become an agent, they become a groupie. If they don't become a groupie, they become something else,
or they
right?
become an agent, or they make it because they became an agent working for a company, and now they're in the popular public eye, and they got a bunch of money behind them, and they got a name behind them, and they've been in heavy rotation in the pop culture iconography that flies by on the assembly line, pumping out robotoids, organic robotoids like Britney Spears. There's this endless supply of people that want to be big stars, and you can see them on TV shows weekly where they go up there and sing their hearts out and do everything they got to do. But in the bottom line, the moment will come where the only thing that's going to be standing between them and being popular and being on camera and being a superstar is having to do what they're going to have to do in order to get that role or to get that contract. And then a lot of people decide, you know what, I'm going to do that because I want to get to where I'm going. And they make that decision, you know, and then they get used up. It doesn't pan out, and then a couple decades later, they get all sour about how they got.
Or they end up hanging off the doorknob, you know, autoerotica thing at the closet door. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you reveal too much, you die from auto asphyxiation, you know. And, you know, you were saying the symbology behind that particular way of going.
You revealed the secret, yeah.
Right,
That's
yeah.
what that
And
is.
you go off the reservation, boom, you go into rehab or whatever. You know, remember Kanye West? He recently went off the reservation.
Yeah.
Well, go look at what Kanye West is saying right now. He's saying he is the most important artist of all time that's ever lived in the history of mankind.
I just think of South Park, the Gay Fish episode, right? Have you ever seen it? Yeah, it's perfect.
I don't know, man. All I know.
Oh, yeah, you have to see it.
All I do know is the world has gone astray. You know, there's something wrong in America. Epic. You know, I just want to go buy a burger and drive in my convertible down to the beach and, you know, enjoy life, you know, and, you know, listen to some music and, you know, have a barbecue, invite some friends over, you know, head over to the chat room, throw some burgers on the grill, maybe throw some, I don't know.
Shrimps in the Barbie for Ken.
Well, we'll throw some brats and some Louisiana hot links on there.
That sounds pretty good, man. I'm getting hungry now.
I know. Well, tell you what, man. If you want to draw a crowd, start frying some onions. I used to work on a soul food barbecue cart.
No pun intended. Soul food.
Yeah, well, this black dude had a soul food, you know, like a hot dog cart, but it was soul food. And I used to drive it in there, man. I used to drive it in. He told me, man, we used to have catfish and hush puppies every Friday. My name's Jimmy. Catfish and hush puppy right here on Revolution Radio. Don't forget, stop on by, support us. We're self-supporting through the generous contributions of the listeners. My name's Jimmy. It's the house that the Nighthawk built. That's the epic journeyman. He's in the islands. He's got his glasses on. He's got a beer in his hand, and it's almost time for us to leave. We're so sorry. It's time for us to go. We'll be back sometime soon, though, like on Monday.
Good evening. Do not attempt to adjust your radio. There is nothing wrong. We have taken control as to bring you this special show. We will return it to you as soon as you are grooving.
While we do it to you in your eardrums. Oh, me? I'm known as Lollipop Man, alias the long-haired sucker. My motto is...
I'm going down. I'm going down, 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 down.
Oh, yeah. Everything gonna be all right this morning. Oh, yeah. Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive. But now I'm a man, way past 21. I want you to believe me, baby. I have lots of fun. I'm a man. I spell him H-I-N. That rubber than man. No be.
Let's imagine. If you glimpsed the future, were frightened by what you saw, what would you do with that information? You would go to who? Politicians? Captains of industry? And how would you convince them? With data? Facts? Good luck. The only facts they won't challenge are the ones that keep the wheels greased and the dollars rolling in. But what if there was a way of skipping the middleman and putting the critical news directly into everyone's head? The probability of widespread annihilation kept going up. The only way to stop it was to show it, to scare people straight. Because what reasonable human being wouldn't be galvanized by the potential destruction of everything they've ever known or loved? To save civilization, I would show its collapse. But how do you think this vision was received? How do you think people responded to the prospect of imminent doom? They gobbled it up. like a chocolate eclair. They didn't fear their demise, they repackaged it. It can be enjoyed as video games, as TV shows, books, movies. The entire world wholeheartedly embraced the apocalypse and sprinted towards it with gleeful abandon. Meanwhile, your Earth was crumbling all around you. You've got simultaneous epidemics of obesity and starvation. Explain that one. Bees and butterflies start to disappear. The glaciers melt. Algae blooms all around you. The coal mine canaries are dropping dead, and you won't take the hint. In every moment, there is the possibility of a better future, but you people won't believe it. And because you won't believe it, you won't do what is necessary to make it a reality. So you dwell on this terrible future, and you resign yourselves to it. For one reason, because that future doesn't ask anything of you today. So, yes, we saw the iceberg, we warned the Titanic. But you all just steered for it anyway, full steam ahead. Why? Because you want to sink.